Hello everybody and welcome back to the MKM Stadium car park. A special hello to Hodgie and to Alan and to Dave, who particularly enjoy the car park chats. Coming to you live after Hull City have beaten West Brom by 1-0 and sit fourth in the Championship at Christmas, which Sergei Yakirovich has just told me is a miracle. And I think a lot of City fans would probably agree with that, given what happened last season, the struggles of the summer, and to be sitting fourth at this stage of the season is no mean feat. It's a big achievement, and look, nothing is won yet. You know, there's no prizes for finishing fourth, for being fourth at Christmas. But what it is, you know, it shows they've had a fantastic start to the season, and it puts them in a terrific position for the final two games away from home of 2025 and going into the new year. And as I say, I think, you know, given what happened last year, to be in this position, I think is beyond pretty much everybody's expectation, and it's a tremendous mini achievement, if you like. And I think, you know, to be fourth going into the festive, or to go into December the 25th, it just makes everybody feel, you know, just feel a little bit better and happier about things. It wasn't a classic by any stretch of the imagination. It was if anything, it was a bit like games before this season, where City at times have rode their luck. They didn't play particularly well in that first half against Albion, who had lost the last 7 games away from home coming here. And Ryan Mason, of course, the ex-Hull City midfielder, under a fair bit of pressure, although that eased, I think, with that win over Sheffield United last weekend. They should have been 2-0 up early in the first half. Colin Grant missed a great chance, and Isaac Price missed an even better chance when Grant crossed it from the left-hand side, and somehow he put it over from a couple of yards out, and you kind of felt at that point that could be pivotal. And then there was, I think in the 54th minute of the first half, Oli McBurnie scored a penalty. We had so much injury time because Charlie Hughes clashed with Nat Phillips from an Albion corner, needed a long spell of treatment after a cut to his head. He had to have the Terry Butcher style bandage on his forehead. He carried on, but in all that added time, Ryan Giles' corner was handled by Nat Phillips. Definite handball, silly thing to do, and McBurnie made it just look ridiculous. 1 or 2 changes, McBurnie back in the side after two appearances off the bench, just sort of walked up and nonchalantly rolled it in the back of the net. It was effortless, really. And that was, as I say, that was the 54th minute of the first half, and it was a crucial time to score. Look, goals change games. All goals change games, and generally when you score right before half time, it has a massive impact. And Albion were much the better side in that first half, and as I say, they should have been 2-0 up before. But McBurnie scores. City go in at half time 1-0. Completely different game of football. The manager he had to make a change, because they went 4-4-2. They went with 2 strikers, Joseph and McBurnie up top, and sacrificed the extra man in midfield, and left Crooks and Slater, and they were at times overrunning that first half. Albion were cutting through them time and time again. That was giving them chance to either go through the middle or go out wide, which they did at ease. So he had to make a change. He took Carl Joseph off, who did get a kick, but he's okay, and he brought Amir on in the second at half time, and that completely changed the game. City, although Albion had a chance at the start of the second half, Colin Grant forced a good save from Pandu. It was a regulation save from a tight angle. They never looked like scoring. Albion never looked like scoring. And City controlled the second half without really creating a raft of goal chances, if I'm honest. They never, you know, there was 1 or 2 nearly moments. There was a Liam Miller shot that deflected over the bar, that could have gone anywhere. There was a wonderful ball in from, I think it was from Giles, for Destan, who came off the bench from McBurnie late on. Narrowly almost got on the end of that, and it came to Akintola, and he went to shoot, and it was blocked. As I say, they never really looked like they were going to go on and put the game to bed. But conversely, Albion never really looked like they were going to get back into it, even at 1-0, and they made loads of changes. Josh Maja came on, 1 or 2 other players came on. I'll come to that in just a minute. But it was a relatively comfortable end, and there was only 4 minutes added on at the end, and they saw that through with relative ease. I said after the Wrexham game that the Wrexham game was a really workmanlike performance. Yes, Wrexham had obviously Kiefer Moore had the open goal he missed, or a really good chance he missed, and the penalty that was saved. They but they kept Wrexham at arm's length. They were much the better team. It was it was kind of a performance that you would expect from a team that are in and around the playoffs. A dominant a comfortable home win with, I wouldn't say no drama, because there was a bit of drama with the 2 chances that Kiefer Moore had. But today was another one of those where they rode their luck early on, but then they got the goal, they kept Albion at arm's length, they kept a clean sheet, and it's the sort of game that Albion over the years, you know, a team that have bounced around from Championship to Premier League, and they've always been in and around the top 6. And they, you know, teams that finish in the top 6 have a lot of these 1-0 wins. You know, Sheffield United are another team that built their promotion campaigns on 1-0 home wins. Not always pretty, not always massively convincing, but just do enough to win the game, to kind of suffocate and strangle the opposition and come away with a 3 points and a clean sheet. And that's what they've done today. And it was really, really workmanlike. It wasn't, as I say, that first half, they didn't play particularly well. I didn't think that the change... I actually thought before the game, the team was I liked it. I thought it's got, you know, you've got Miller, Bellumi, Joseph and McBurnie all in the same team. I thought that was a really attack-minded team. I was slightly concerned about the midfield, and that was proven, but he changed it, and he's got away with it, and he was man enough to make the change at half-time knowing it wasn't working, and in the end they've got the 3 points. And you've got to try things. Sometimes you've got to try things. You know, that's the first time they've gone with 2 out and out strikers, and it didn't work. It could have worked, you know, it just didn't. You know, West Brom, give them credit, they've got good players, they played better in the first half, but also credit to City for sticking in there and then getting their noses in front and then seeing it out. And as I say, you know, that's 3 wins on the spin since the Middlesbrough game. It's back-to-back clean sheets at home now, which is another massive step forward. And there's a little bit of a gap now starting to generate. It was, you know, a couple of weeks ago, it was really tight. There was 3 or 4 points separating about 15 teams. Well, now they've put 9 points between themselves and West Brom. I think there's 6 points between themselves and Leicester City. You know, they've taken advantage of Preston needing a 96th minute equaliser to draw with Norwich. Millwall losing again, this time away at where did Millwall lose? Blackburn. So I think Ipswich, we were always expecting Ipswich would beat Sheffield Wednesday. So I just think it's a fitting way to end 2025 here. Obviously, there's still 2 more games away from home to come at Wednesday and at Middlesbrough. But given the struggles of 2025 earlier on here, to have now notched 7 wins and finish it with a victory, I think everybody's going to have a great Christmas, aren't they? So fantastic stuff. As I say, it wasn't convincing, but who really gives a monkeys at this stage of the season? A couple of ironic moments, actually. Nat Phillips, you remember, scored the winner for Derby here at the back end of last season, that final home game at the end of April, which condemned City to a defeat that left them in the bottom 3 going into the final day. Well, Nat Phillips was the guy that gave away the penalty today. Happy days. And also Campbell, the right back for West Brom, was on a yellow card, and he made a couple of decisions that you thought if he does another one of them he might be sent off. Well, Ryan Mason took him off, brought on Alfie Gilchrist to try and protect him from getting the sending off, and then Gilchrist himself gets sent off for what we thought at the time was a high challenge on Liam Miller. It looked like, obviously we're the very back row of the West Stand. It looked like he caught Liam Miller high. Replays say that he didn't catch him. He was sent off. What I found strange about that was, you know, Miller went down and he rolled around a bit, and it kind of felt like he was going to give the free kick on. We all trot on with our lives, and then all of a sudden the referee Ruben Ricardo, who we had at Birmingham, you might remember, back in October, sort of nonchalantly just walked back on the pitch, and then all of a sudden flashed his red card, and you're like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. You know, as I say, at the time it looked high. Replays suggest that it wasn't as high as we thought, and there may not have even been much contact, if any contact. That's twice in 2 weeks or 2 games that City have had players sent off against them, and you take the rub of the green. I guess, you know, that little bit of luck went their way. But yeah, Ryan Mason wasn't overly impressed. But what I would say is he was absolutely furious with his own team's performance in that second half, and disappointed with the fact that they missed such a good chance in the first half. And that's 8 straight defeats away from home for West Brom now. They're very good at home, but they're not very good away. Ryan's under a lot of pressure, and he cut a bit of a forlorn figure at full time. Right, let's read some questions before I go home. Well, not home for Christmas, because we've got a press conference on Monday with the manager. Let's go through some comments before we go. I'm just scrolling back. Darren, clearly not at it today, especially in the first half, but Sergei changed things once again, although disjointed, much more resolute. Great run. Lunny and Matazzo yet to bring in two. Yeah, they weren't great in the first half. As I say, they rode their luck. You know, fair play. And then they got the chance, and McBurnie did what McBurnie does, and rolls it in the back of the net. It was never in doubt. He just makes it look ridiculously easy. You can't help but love the guy. That's 3 goals in 3 games, 10 for the season, and he's back with a bang, isn't he? Who else have we got to read through? Tony, first time I thought the manager got it wrong in starting McBurnie and Joseph together. They both got in each other's way, and it prevented being able to get the wingers in the game. Look more solid with the extra man in midfield. Don't disagree with that. Matthew, win's a win. Any idea who's coming in January? Heard Tufan wants to come back. Yeah, Tufan does want to come back, but I'm not sure he's going to come back at this stage. But we'll cover transfers in a bit more detail a bit later. Not today, but a bit later on as we get closer to January. I've got a couple of bits coming actually over the next couple of days on transfers, but I would be surprised. I wouldn't rule it out, but when finances are tight, and they are, and you've not got much wriggle room in your squad, I'm not sure that Tufan is a player that they necessarily need right now, if I'm brutally honest. Sarah says, winning the game while not being at our best is what playoff teams do. 100% agree with that, Sarah. I've said that earlier on, that teams grind these sort of games out. You're not playing. They were brilliant against Wrexham. They were brilliant at Millwall. Today was a different kind of game. Difficult conditions. The pitch was difficult. It was sticky, a bit cloggy, and they've won the game. Look, when we wake up tomorrow morning, nobody gives them a monkey's backside that City weren't fluid. They didn't score 5 goals, and it wasn't. They weren't amazing. They did a job, and that's at the end of the season. When you look at the league table, if you're 4th in the table, you look back at these sorts of wins and say they were the wins that got you in the playoffs. They're the wins that grit out and are professional, or you're resolute, you're difficult to beat, and you find a way to win the game however it looks, and that's the most important thing. So agree with that. Brian, Jurkovic realises things aren't always working and switches things around. Sign of a good pragmatic coach. Yeah, look, he tried something, and I think most of us before the game thought 2 strikers, both are in form. Why not? It didn't work, and he changed it, and it's not costing the game. If they lose today, everyone hammers the manager, and there've been times in this season where the manager has got it wrong. But that's football. You're not going to go 22 games with getting everything spot on. That's just not the reality of it. And what I would say is, he will admit it. If he gets it wrong, he admits it, and he'll come out after the game and go, "I got that wrong." Or within games, he'll change it. And fair play. That was the obvious thing to do at half time, was to put the extra man in midfield, and it changed the game in their favour. And West Brom never really, as I say, West Brom never had a sniff, and they just controlled the game, and that's credit to them all, because it's stubborn managers that go, well, I've picked the team, I'm gonna stick with it by hook or by crook, and if it doesn't work, fine, but I'm going to stick with it. And he didn't. He's not that manager. He's not like that. He's not a manager that is too proud to go, well, that's not working, I'm going to change it. And he did. Benjamin, did I think it was a red card for Gilchrist? In real time, no. I thought it was a yellow card. My thought of it was, if it's high and rash and late and he's caught him on the knee, then he could be in trouble. But I was surprised that he got a red card. Having seen a very quick replay, it doesn't look like it's a red card. So perhaps City got the rub of the green. I was just confused by the referee, because it's not like he went red straight away. He's seen it and instantly seen and given the red card. He's bought himself loads of time. He's walked around a bit and then he's flashed a red card. So he's given himself quite a lot of thinking time to make that decision. So personally, a bit surprised. Wouldn't surprise me if the Baggies appealed it, although Ryan Mason was a bit ambiguous about whether they will or they won't. I mean, given that Millwall appealed Femi Aziz on Kyle last week, anything's possible. I mean, they should have given him an extra 3 games for a frivolous appeal. I know they appealed the length of the ban, but he's kicked out at Carl Joseph in the you know what. It's a 3-game ban by anybody stretch the imagination. Why they've appealed that? He should have got. Well, the club should have been punished further for a frivolous appeal. But anyway, that's by the by. Sarah, are they going to get Bashir Humphries on loan? I think they potentially like defensive cover, but we shall have to wait and see on that. I must admit, I was a bit concerned when I saw Charlie go down and he was down for 6 minutes. You know, how's you look? You've just lost Shemi to the African Cup of Nations. You bring in John Egan and suddenly Charlie goes down. What could have been concussion at that point. He's okay. Thankfully, he'll be fine for Sheffield Wednesday. But yeah, heart in mouth moment that was, wasn't it? Steve, ground that result out. This is certainly a different Hull City. Happy Christmas. Thank you. And the same back to you, Steve, and your family. Josh, the top 2. Look, I mean, they're 5 points off Middlesbrough. If they go to Sheffield Wednesday and win as they should do on Boxing Day, then I tell you what, depending on what Borough do on Boxing Day, I don't half set it up nicely for a bit of a revenge mission at the Riverside, doesn't it? But look, it's the Championship. You rule nothing in. You can't rule anything out. I mean, they're in with they're firmly in the playoff mix. They've got a bit of a cushion. They've bought themselves a bit of a cushion now. I mean, it'd take a massive goal swing for them to not be, for them to be knocked out of the top 6 going into that game at Middlesbrough. So you just never know. Look, as I said before, you're 4th at Christmas. By definition of how crazy this division is, anything is possible. And I've said all season, if they can get everybody fit and keep players fit, McBurnie, Miller, Balumi, if they can get Lundstrom back, it should be back for Boxing Day. If Gelhardt comes back and when he comes back, at some point next month, and he picks up where he left off, just as McBurnie has done, they can get Elliot Matazo back. Casey Palmer comes back, with a bit of a point to prove, because I think he's under pressure when he comes back. Get Ajay back. They've got every chance of certainly being in that top 6. And if they can reel Middlesbrough in, if you can be 5 or 6 points off second going into the final 6-7 games, you've got every chance. It's a long way. There's a long way to go, and we need to, why not dream though? Football's about dreams, isn't it? And given what the mess of last year, I don't decry any City fan from thinking positively and looking up that table, because they're 4th on merit after 22 games of the season. We're come full time at Hillsborough, we are at the halfway point, and they're going to be in the top 6. So, barring something bizarre, so they're there on merit, and who knows? Right, more questions. Liam, do you know any hotels in London? I've seen enough. There's plenty of hotels down there, mate. I mean, they're a bloody fortune. I was looking at a hotel for the Charlton game, and it's FA Cup semi-final weekend, isn't it? So I might be taking my tent. Philip, hope Sheffield Wednesday doesn't become a banana skin. I mean, it is a banana skin, isn't it? Let's be honest. That Wednesday haven't won at home all season. If ever there was a game where they're looking at it, big crowd, Boxing Day, City flying 4th in the table, 3,900 sellout. It's got, that typical City syndrome that we talk about. Would it surprise me if it was 1-0 to Sheffield Wednesday or 2-1? Absolutely not. But this City is, I kind of think this is a different Hull City team. If they go and perform anything like they can, if they go to Hillsborough and perform anything like they did at Millwall, they will win that game, because Wednesday have got a lot of players out, their midfield's broken, but they put in a good effort at Ipswich. They were 2-1 at one point, and many people would have expected Ipswich to wipe the floor with them today. So, after a couple of really bad performances from Wednesday recently, including the derby against United, that they'll take a bit of confidence. I know they've lost, but they'll take a bit of heart from the way they've battled down at Portman Road this afternoon. So that it's not. Look, if we all roll up to Hillsborough thinking it's 3 points in the bag, and let's look at that, let's already start looking at Middlesbrough, they'll come unstuck, because it's the Championship, and Wednesday are probably going to win a home game at some point. It can't be Boxing Day. This cannot be a game where City go there and think it's going to be a walk in the park and end up getting getting a kick between the you-know-whats and end up having to travel back along the M62 with the tail between their legs. They can't afford to do that, because that is the sort of game that could start a spiral. If they were to lose at Sheffield Wednesday, suddenly that Middlesbrough game looks a whole lot more difficult, and then you could be staring down the barrel of 2 straight defeats with Stoke to come here on the New Year's Day and then Watford here. So, you know, that's not a game to take lightly. That's not a game to underestimate, because, you know, Wednesday they've got players like Bannon that have got pride. They're proud footballers, and that's a proud football club. And yes, they're having a horrible season. Yes, they're going to be relegated, but they're a proud football club. There'll be a proud group of players that, especially on Boxing Day, big crowd, big Yorkshire derby, that they'll want to be a coupon buster. They'll want to restore some pride, and they will love it if they can get that first home win of the season against Hull City. So we've got to go there. We've got to treat that as if we're going to Portman Road, as if we're going to the Riverside Stadium, as if we're going anywhere at the top of the Championship. You cannot take that game lightly. So yes, I echo you, Philip. Paul, when possible, I'd love to see us at full strength with Shemi in for Egan, Gowhart fitting for Joseph. Then we can beat anybody. I mean, they can beat anybody anyway. Let's be realistic. We've got some spam from some clown now. Get rid of them. Robert Hughes, man of the match in an awful performance, but in an awful match, but happy with the 3 points. I'm glad you've said that, Robert, about Hughes, because I gave him my man of the match, just for getting smashed on the head, having stitches and cracking on and playing like that. So yeah, I thought Ryan Giles was excellent, actually. You know, Regan was much better in the second half. I thought Crooksey was decent, without being fantastic. I thought the wingers, Miller and Bloomy, were fairly quiet. But I thought Gilo was very good. Put in a couple of absolute belting crosses. But Hughes for me, man of the match. More comments before I go. Richard, good teams play poorly and win, which is very promising. Agree. Finley, enjoy your drink. Yeah, Sergey, credit to the club. They laid on mince pies and some reindeer biscuits at the end of the game, and then Sergey came in with he had to wait quite a while because Ryan Mason was in for his autopsy for quite a while. But yeah, Sergey came in with a bucket of beers for the media. So we do get well looked after here at Hull City. Robert, can we keep hold of the manager? Yeah. Benjamin, when's Mataza going to be back? I think realistically, probably early to middle of February. He's just started running again, so he's got to start running. He's got to then start kicking the ball again. He's then got to come back into training, then contact training, then play some games. But hopefully Lundstrom should be back at Hillsborough. So again, they've got options. Regan's playing really well. Amir was excellent in the second. He was excellent at Millwall, excellent in the second half this afternoon. You've got Darko as well that can play there. So they've got options in the middle of the park. Crooks as well. So I don't think there's a need to rush him back. Nigel, another echoes that thought again. A great win, sign of a good team winning, but not at the best. And it is every game. You're right. Sergey says it all the time. Every game's 50-50. No matter who you're playing, wherever they are in the league, anybody can beat anybody on any given day in this league. And if you're not at it, we've seen it a million times. If you're not at it, you get beat. And if City aren't at it, as I say, they were professional today, and they've done a brilliant job. West Brom are a good side. Again, to be clear, to be 9 points clear at West Brom after 22 games, that's a good thing. That's not to be sniffed at. West Brom are a perennial challenger. If they don't get promoted, they're always in and around the top 6. So to be 9 points clear of them, I know it's only that's a week in the Championship. That's a good week versus a bad week in the Championship. But that feels, when it's been so tight, and when you've been able to throw a blanket over teams over the last month, when City lost to Middlesbrough and they dropped down to 11th or 12th, and suddenly they win 3, and now there's a big gap appearing. It's a big step forward. But every game is rock solid, and that's what I'm saying about Hillsborough. We all think that City, if they go there and perform, they'll win the game. But if they take anything for granted, they'll come unstuck, and they can't. That's got to be the mentality. Simon, City fan from Tunbridge Wells, 3 points is what it's needed. Yeah, agreed. I think we'll all enjoy our as Matt Crook said to me afterwards, we can all enjoy our pigs in blankets on Christmas Day. George, atmosphere was better. Great to hear. I agree with that. I think again, the fans sense that the players needed that little not kick up the backside. That's not the right term, but that pick me up. There were spells in the game where they needed a bit of help, and that's going to be the case every game. There's two teams at play here. It's not all about what we do. You have to accept that the other team have got good players. The other team are going to have spells in the game, and they're going to create chances. Hull City aren't good enough to come out and walk over every single team 5-0 and not give away a single chance. Christ, the best teams in the league can't. Arsenal, best team in the Premier League so far this season, can't do that. So Hull City in the Championship obviously can't do that. So I think we have to accept that other teams are going to create chances. Other teams are going to have spells in games where they dominate, and City have got to sit in, be compact, and defend their goal, maybe ride their luck at times, but when they get a chance, take it, and that's what we saw today. So, great, it bodes well. Right, where are we? While I'm scrolling for more comments, no injuries apparently. Charlie's got the cut to his head, he should be fine. Kyle's okay, Ollie's okay. As I say, we're expecting Lunny back on Boxing Day, so we look, apart from the players we know about, Joff out, Elliott still out, potentially Palmer could have been in the squad today, might be in the squad on Boxing Day. We're getting towards a full bill of health. Key thing at this phase of the season is getting through games without any more injuries, especially when you've got Shemi not available. Robert, under the radar in national reports, yeah, who cares? Let him get on with it. Let the national media worry about the clubs they want to worry about. We'll just keep doing what we do and keep clocking up 3 points. Michael, manager's going to have a headache when they're all fit and available. He will, if that ever happens. Let's hope it does, because what a tantalising prospect that is. Alistair, happy Christmas. What's the reason for not playing second half towards the south stand? Is it to do with the? I think ideally they like going towards the north stand. In the second half, I think that's what they'd like to do. All depends on the coin toss and who wins the coin toss. Paul, how long is Gowhart missing for? Middle of January, I think we would expect Joff back. Steve, credit to City, the inflatable grotto with Santa giving kids gifts. Look, I've said this before. What this club does for its fans is second to none. They're phenomenal. We've had. The giving tree, the present thing was incredible. The stuff the Tigers Trust do, the food bank meal, going to see I know every club does the hospital visit, but you shouldn't take it for granted. We were down there. We were down there a few days ago with Casey, John Egan, and the skipper, giving out presents to kids on the children's ward. The grotto here today. They did the academy takeover, letting the young lads from the academy, from the 18s, come and shadow certain roles today to get a feel for what goes on the match day. Look, they are unbelievable. I can't speak highly enough of what this football club does in the community, both the club itself, the Tigers Trust, darts events. Where else can kids go and play darts with the first team players? Where else can kids go to go bowling at the shopping centre? It's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Santa's Grotto outside where they're giving stuff away. I just like the evening, the Q&A last night where the chairman, I know it gets a lot of stick, but the chairman throws open the doors, invites some fans, free food, Friday before Christmas, signings. Look, I could be here all night eulogising over what this club does. And they'll get criticism at times. Some of it will be fair, some of it will be unfair. But I think every Hull City supporter should be inherently proud of this football club for the work that the people behind the scenes do. They work their knackers off to try and give everything for their supporters, whether it be ticket prices, kits, retro kits that reflect this club's proud history. I'm just in awe of the work that the supporter liaison team, Joe and Dan and everybody, Brendan, Leanne, everybody, Tash, behind the scenes. I could be all night naming them. So if I've not named you, don't come at me with pitchforks, please. But yeah, they do a phenomenal job. And Steve, I'm glad you've raised it, because it's a worthwhile point, especially this time of year when it's really hard. And Christmas is a time for celebration. But there's a lot of people out there that struggle at Christmas, that find Christmas really hard for a million reasons. A pal I know from Forest lost his sister to cancer yesterday. you know, another sign that this can be a really difficult, and best wishes, Greg, by the way. This is a really hard time for a lot of people, and things like the food bank meal that they did the other day, and getting fans down here that are finding it hard, give them a meal, the players come along, the kids get some presents. It doesn't change the world, it doesn't suddenly solve all their problems, but it's a little moment that they can cherish and puts a smile on their faces, and I just love what they do. So before I get all teary, fantastic stuff. Sarah, yeah, Amir, comment from Amir. Alistair, I think the North Stand is the preferred end to attack second half if they can. Yeah, right, just quickly before... Right, I'm going to call it a day at 7:20 on the final Saturday before Christmas. We will have the podcast for you on Monday, the final one before Christmas. We will be with the manager and I think Liam Miller on Monday to preview Boxing Day at Sheffield Wednesday. We've got plenty to come between now and Christmas. Lots of nice, flowery, fluffy stuff to kind of send you off into Christmas happy. But like I say, 3 points this afternoon. City are 4th at Christmas. Fantastic stuff from everybody here at Hull City. And as I say, if I don't talk to you before, have a great Christmas. Whoever you're spending it with. If you are spending it on your own, I hope it goes well. I hope if you find it really hard at Christmas, remember there are people out there. There's plenty of City fans out there that will help and wish you a Merry Christmas, or even maybe throw open their doors for a turkey dinner. But if we don't catch each other before, have a great Christmas, and we will pick it up again at Hillsborough on Boxing Day. So up the Tigers, Merry Christmas, one and all.